Today we have Debbie MacCullough with us from Crossworld, and it's good to see her and get updated with what's going on in her ministry. So welcome, Debbie.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you. And hello to everyone at Wycombe from sunny Florida.
And as you can see, I decided to make it look like I'm in a sunnier climate, but it's really cold today. Anyway, couple of questions for you. And to start off, please tell us how you have adjusted your ministry as a result of the pandemic.
You know, it's interesting. When you asked me that question originally in writing, I went back and I counted, and from 2019 to 2020 in March, I was out of the country on about 15 trips. I was in maybe 12 or 13 different countries in that time, 160 days overseas. From March 4th, 2020 until now, I've not left the United States once. So I've had to totally rework the face-to-face work that I have been doing with teacher training, because that's just not possible. So what we used to do face-to-face, we're now figuring out how to do by distance, pretty much like you and I are doing right now, where we interview by distance. We're still training teachers. We have a few more complications. It's very hard in a day to be on Zoom all day long. And so what we've been doing is taking our 6-hour day trainings and breaking them into smaller bits. So a lot of the ministry that has changed has been stepping back and rethinking, how can we do this teacher training ministry in this particular situation? So that has been the main shift in my ministry. Still training teachers though.
Has technology been a hindrance at all in some of the other countries, the connectivity part of it, or?
Yeah, it's hard when you're Zooming and the data all of a sudden drops in one place. If it happens to be the host of the Zoom, then everybody's gone. If we're hosting it and it's a little bit more stable, then all of a sudden you just sort of lose people. You have to time speaking because there is a delay. So you have to wait for a question to be asked.
So let's move along. So what have you been able to accomplish then in the past year? So it's
some really
from your newsletters quite a bit.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. We were able to take what I would consider one of the weakest spots of our program, and really take the time to strengthen it. And that is, we use local host partners to actually run the trainings in the countries that we're in. And we originally thought that would be mostly ACSI offices, but that hasn't exactly happened. And we have other organizations, which is wonderful, who are helping out as local host partners. But we found that they needed some training in how do we run conferences and trainings. And so we've actually put together training videos that they've been working through. And we have key performance indicators that they have to meet before they start the program. And this has been really helpful for the program to run more smoothly. And it's actually helped our ACSI offices, since we required of them as well. So that's been one real good thing.
Let me cut in real quick.
Sure.
Please tell everybody who AHCSI is.
Thank you. It's the Association of Christian Schools International. Crossworld seconds me to that organization because they work with Christian schools around the world. So, shall I continue?
Continue, please.
The second thing that's really been amazing is we have always recognized God's hand in us working with this particular teacher training ministry. A long time ago, about 2 years ago, we decided to start using international partners to help us train trainers. And the pandemic has moved us completely away from that. You can't cross borders. And so we are looking at how do we work and train local high quality educators to be those licensed trainers who train other trainers. Now, we were a little concerned, and we worked pretty hard with our international folks because it sometimes is hard for a Westerner to come to another country and say, this is how you should do education, because the leaders can say, well, that may be how you do it in your country, but it's not going to work in our country. But when someone from their country comes and says, look, this is a biblical approach to education and it will work in our country, I'm using it in my school, they have a lot less excuse to say this isn't going to work here. And so it's been a positive thing to find that using these new educators, it just is a little bit more training on our end to get them prepared and actually having them put into practice in their own schools the things we're teaching them to do. So that has been a big move that we've made. I've been creating an online refresher course for our licensed trainers. So they get to go on, if you're familiar with free programs, a Moodle, and they go on and they watch videos and they get to try their hand at some of the activities. But I'm also setting up for some hybrid trainings in April. Our Kenyan trainers, which we need about 8 more trainers there. The Kenyan trainers are going to have a hybrid meeting. 2 of my colleagues live in Africa, and they are going to go to Kenya. They can cross the borders within Africa. So they're going to go to Kenya and do face-to-face. And then each afternoon in their program, which is early morning here, I'll Zoom in and I'll do the afternoon of training via a Zoom session. So we are working through all the details of making sure what happens if Debbie's Zoom is not zooming in or Kenya's data isn't letting us come in. And we're making some backup videos to make sure that that's all set to go. And then lastly, with the PSI, we've been working on expanding to Haiti and Indonesia. The Haitian expansion's been really stuck by political situations there. And so we're just praying that God works in a way that they are able to actually meet so that we can do the trainings. Indonesia, we're going to be piloting how do we do this whole program online, because they have so many islands. The way that we have designed the face-to-face won't work as easily for them. So we're working through a lot of changes, but excited about them. Now, beyond PSI, beyond the Paths to School Improvement Program, which is the main program I work with, I've also been creating what we're calling professional development packets to go. And that is little leaders packets, handouts, and video packets that go to a school leader, and they can take their own staff through the professional development that I used to do face-to-face. It's going to save me a lot of travel in the future.
Well, that sounds terrific. As we finish up here, why don't you leave us with a couple of your most important prayer requests?
So probably one of the more important prayer requests is that God leads me to the correct equipment to make these professional development packets high quality. Still need to get better than AirPods for microphone and a couple other things so that they're a little bit higher quality. And then I'd really like you to pray that travel becomes possible again soon. A lot of the discipleship I do is done face to face. A lot of the work that I do is sitting with one of the leaders and helping them work through problems, and just isn't the same on WhatsApp or on Zoom to sit and, we'll pray together, we'll talk through things, but it's not the same as sitting over a cup of tea and having that face-to-face interaction. So pray with me that we're able to resume some of the cross-border travel soon.
Okay, we will. Well, it's
Thank
been good
you.
seeing you, and thank you for sharing this time.
Thank you very much.